since we're talking about politics, last thing, Mamdani has put forward some new tax proposals.
Okay, let's hear 'em.
Which I'm excited about. The first one is one that he has direct control over, right? He wants to raise the tax rate for people who make over $1 million.
Okay.
I'm okay with that. It affects, I'm going to pull up the exact numbers and exact percentage, but I believe it's from 3% to 5%, the tax rate for people in New York City. And the idea, he wants to raise the city income tax rate to 5.88% from 3.88% for the roughly 34,000 households that earn more than $1 million per year. He said that a family earning $1 million should pay an additional $20,000 in taxes, the equivalent of, it's a 51% increase. And then the other thing is he's trying to advocate for at the state level is an increase in what some people call the death tax, which is more appropriately just a, what do you call it? A
hereditary thing or...
yeah, when you give somebody...
Inheritance?
Inheritance tax. Thank you, yes. An inheritance tax, which would raise the rates pretty high for people who are bequeathing things to people. So if you have a house and you were to give it to your kid, you're going to pay a higher tax rate on it.
I don't love that.
I don't like that.
I'm cool with the other
some
one.
of the dumbest shit you ever heard in your life. First off, we have a really wide broadcast.
Yeah.
But we got to think about, we talking about New York.
State.
Right? And so when you start thinking about people in New York, especially in New York City proper, so that's the 5 boroughs or anything remotely close, what he's doing, he's taking the rates from 16%. His proposed new rate is 50%. That's a different level of a jump.
For the inheritance tax?
Yes.
The inheritance
tax. One. And then the
is there
rate...
a cap, pardon me for interrupting, is there a cap on...
7 million, I believe, is
No. The old start of the inheritance tax used to be $7 million.
That's where you start getting
That's
taxed
where you start
at.
to get taxed.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I'm not mad at that.
He wants to drop it to $750,000.
That's
So if you start taxing New Yorkers at $750,000, for those of us that live in the area, there you can't find a house in the 5 boroughs for $750,000.
You can't find a 1-bedroom apartment.
That's my point. And so now you're starting to impose way more I don't want to call them sanctions, but way more stress on the poor and the middle class that you ran your campaign on uplifting. Right? So, and this is what I want people to understand. Yo, when you start talking about taxing the billionaires and taxing the rich, especially when it comes to inheritance and all that other shit, the term trust fund babies comes from somewhere. They don't pay taxes like that. They put all of their assets and they put all of their money in a trust. And when you die, your trust don't get taxed. So now you putting all this pressure on motherfuckers that don't have the information or don't have the resources to carry out their inheritance that way. And a lot of people, especially in our communities, black and brown, we come up off of insurance policies. We come up off of real estate inheritance, et cetera, et cetera. That's how you gain a leg in the quote unquote wealth gap.
Right.
So now if I inherit a house that's $1 million and I got to pay $500K on $1 million, I ain't inherit. If my parents bought this house for $500,000 when I was 10,
yeah, that's way too low.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Yeah.
And so
for New York City, yes.
I think it's counterproductive, again, based on what he said he was going to do for the middle class and the poor. It don't even... To propose it to me is asinine. Whether it gets voted on or not, just to propose that means you, in my opinion, you have a disconnect on what's going on out here.
I'm not mad at the 3 to the 5 for the other...
For the million,
thing, but the inheritance at $750 is crazy to me,
bro. Even $1 million.
So you don't think people should be taxed at all?
No, they should, but the threshold, especially for New Yorkers, should be higher.
Yeah, like we again, it's an industry specific thing. I want somebody in Cleveland to be like, "Yo, these are stupid," or somebody in Indiana to say we stupid.
Yeah, we talking about New York.
Yeah,
you literally
when
can't get a 1-bedroom condo in New York for $750,000.
And people don't understand that worldwide. So again, that's why I'm prefacing it with, yo, dog, we talking about New Yorkers. So if you're talking about people that are struggling in the Bronx, people that are struggling in Queens, people that are struggling in Brooklyn, your family passes away, they leave you this asset that may be worth $2 million. Y'all gonna take $1 million of it? Like, get the out of here. That shit don't make no sense. And again, they keep trying to pawn it off as
I don't think that's what's happening. That's not what the policy is.
Oh, okay. Tell me more.
Yeah, that's I'm going to pull up. I'm trying to pull up the exact policy. But first of all, it's on estates, right?
Estate.
So it's not just on houses. It's on like the estate. So if I have just to be clear,
estate.
So if I have an estate of $5 million, the idea is if I'm leaving that to you, you have to pay taxes on it. It doesn't mean that if it's because the estate might be valued at $1 million. If I leave you a house for $1 million, I haven't even sold the house. I don't have to cough up $500,000.
Okay,
but I do have to pay taxes on part of it, and the reason for it to me, and I'm going to put up the exact numbers so we can get into exactly what it looks like on the ground, because I didn't know this. I only knew the first part of the story that I brought up. Ish brought this to us this morning, so I didn't get a chance to read into it beforehand. But it's important to know that the top rate is 50%. Not all of it is 50%.
Okay.
So if I inherit $750,000, I wouldn't be paying 50%. The person who inherits $7 million and above would be getting the 50%. But I haven't seen a schedule to know what the steps are. So I don't know whether it's 20%, whether it's 30%. But it will go up. The exemption is no longer up to $7 million. I think that's important to note. But to my point, again, like I don't think it's a contradiction to say I'm for poor people or I'm for, even the middle class, and saying I'm going to raise the tax rate on people who are inheriting stuff. I get the idea of wanting to pass wealth on to your children. I get the idea of wanting to share those things. I get it. But I'm not convinced, even in New York, that somebody who inherits, say, a $3 million property right now, or a $3 million estate, whatever it is, shouldn't have to pay some taxes if they're getting $3 million.
You have to pay taxes already.
But New York is one of the few states that sort of, there's a federal taxes you pay on it, but the rate is fairly, in New York, is fairly like nothing when you have the exemption.
That's relative. Number one,
I
like
don't know about that, Mark.
I've gone through this.
It's not relative. I'm saying let me put it differently. It's literally zero up to right now up to $7 million.
I've gone through this, right? So it depends. Like I know New Jersey law and I know Maryland laws. In New Jersey, if somebody passes away and they leave their estate, it depends on your relationship to the person.
Right.
So if you are the wife, the spouse, or the kids, then you don't pay a tax on property.
Okay.
Right? If you're a sibling, if you're somebody else, then you pay a tax. However, when we start to, again, talk about, and this is where it gets funny, because when you start throwing these numbers out, like Mark threw a number out, like $5 million, $10 million. If I have $10 million of assets, that means I also have $10 million of information where I'm going to protect those assets when it's time for me to pass away, to where my family's not going to pay taxes at all. That's one key point, is the information of the rich. They always find a loophole to escape paying taxes.
That's a fact.
So it's going to disproportionately affect us, or the people that are in a different tax bracket that don't have that information and don't have a trust or don't have somebody to have set up their estate situations. Again, in our community, sometimes don't even have life insurance. So if you are a family that you didn't come up off a life insurance policy, that house that your mother left you or that house that your father left you, that might be your only thing that you could build wealth off of. And so now to tax that in a way that to some might seem minimal, to most might not seem minimal, it is disheartening to me.
I got to read more.
I got to read more to know the sketch. To me, the devil's in the details. I agree with you that the rich circumvent the rules, but to me, that's the argument for making better rules.
But that's the argument that they push when they act as if it's in fairness. Like, yo, we gonna tax all these.
I think this isn't fairness.
Well, we gonna tax all these billionaires. No, you're not.
Yeah, they already are exempt. They know how to play the game.
Right.
So the ones you're going to tax are the
people
who
that
are
don't
newly
know how
here,
to play the game.
and they don't know how to play the game.
But I think that's why this policy could be useful. Again, the devil's going to be in the details. But also, when I think about the people who are the most affected, people like us, we don't. For example, poor black people, we don't inherit houses. We don't.
It's not true, Mark. Especially now, we are starting to be more on the side of inheriting houses.
We are disproportionately inheriting debt. We're disproportionately inheriting houses that aren't paid off.
Yeah.
We're inherently
doesn't matter. Still equity in the house. That still a value. That still a net value.
What I'm saying is that black income. There's difference, as you know, difference between income and wealth. And what I'm saying is black people are disproportionately we're underrepresented on the wealth side.
Zero.
That's
Dead last.
Right. So that's all I'm saying. And so it's not like the most vulnerable people in New York City are the ones who are about to get hit hard because they're inheriting these houses that they don't have to pay extra taxes on. I'm saying that the people who are often getting around the rules are more likely to get ensnared with this policy based on the way it's been laid out than the people who we're trying to protect. That's what I'm saying. It's not my auntie's not inheriting a $5 million house.
You keep going to 5 million. Stay at $1 million.
Okay,
stay at 1.5.
Okay,
We're in New York City.
Sure,
so the minimal house, you could get some piece of
two-bedroom apartment.
All right, cool. So now you could get a piece of house in New York City, and no disrespect to Queens. Let's say Queens or Brooklyn, right? You could get a house that's $1.5 million. Again, the wealth for black people ranks dead last amongst ethnicities in the United States of America. We are last.
Yeah.
So now we are starting to get information based on EYL, like that. We are starting to get information on how to wealth build.
Yeah.
Cool. You may not have all of the vehicles set up to wealth build, but for a majority of people, I'm arguing with you that people own houses. And grandparents own houses and mothers own houses, and they are leaving these houses to their kids. So when you start taxing these people at a high clip, 16% to me is too much.
Yeah, see, that's where we disagree. I'm not disagreeing that grandmothers bequeath houses. I'm simply saying that black people are underrepresented on that list.
I know.
And so because we're underrepresented on that list, I'm actually more interested in how tax revenue could be used to invest in us in ways that can get us to where you want to be. Education, all the things that help people be able to access houses and things like that. You know what I mean? And social mobility.
And I think that's all theory. I'm a man that practices practicality, and I don't have no faith in Democrats. I don't have no faith in Republicans. I don't have no faith in no politicians to take the money and allocate the money accordingly to us to where we could come up off of it. We haven't seen it ever. So again, if my parents leave me some that I can tangibly touch, I don't want the state taking it.
No Joe Biden.